Okay, so welcome to FAFSA Night. This is a full walkthrough of the FAFSA process. Hopefully you read that initial email and you got your FSA ID. If not, you can go ahead and do that right now and create your ID while I'm going through. And you can just listen to the kind of preliminary stuff about financial aid in general. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about what is student aid, what does it mean, and all that. We're gonna go through the FAFSA process. I'm gonna do a quick. This is how you do the FSA ID, although we won't have the full time for you to create it at that time. So that's why if you haven't already made your FSA student ID, make it now and make sure that whoever your contributor is has made theirs as well, whether that's parents or spouse or whoever claims you on their taxes. And then we'll kind of go into some general finances at the very end there. Okay, so anytime we mention anything where we say something like institutional aid, that means it's coming from the college or the career school itself, and it's not going to be it's not student aid. That's different. Okay, so what is financial aid? So financial aid is basically it's money for educational expenses for college and career. So that includes tuition and fees and housing and other things that you might have to spend money on, like supplies or books or things like that. So financial aid, when we say educational expenses, we mean all of those things. They are considering all of those things when they assume how much it's going to cost you to go to school and how much they can give you. So grants are basically, they don't have to be repaid. You can consider it gift aid. So you're given this money for you to use. You don't have to pay that back. And it's basically there. The money is there, is not taken. This money is not repaid and is not taken into account when you determining your eligibility for financial aid the next year. So don't think because they get financial aid your first year of college, it doesn't impact you getting it for your second year of college. They don't take that into account on that at all. Work study, also you're not paying that back, but you're getting paid for time that you worked. The benefit of it versus another job is that those jobs specifically are on campus, and they are ones that they work around your class schedule much more than another place would. As somebody who worked in work study and then had a job later on, the work study job was so much easier. I just picked my classes and then turned my class schedule into work study. And then they gave me, here are the jobs that fit within the schedule that you have. And then I was able to go from there. Whereas when I worked other jobs later on, I had to then get my work schedule set, and then I had to go pick classes that worked around that. So you were getting less choices on your you're getting less options for your classes when you have to do it that way. Loans are things that do have to be repaid and with interest. Now we can get into the specifics of there's different kinds of loans, and some loans can be repaid before a certain time and they don't accrue interest into that time. They're federally secured loans. But there are benefits and negatives to that. If you haven't seen it, I definitely go back and watch College Money Night. I go into much more detail on that. But loans you have to pay back. So usually they're the low end on that, but they still come through financial aid. And then scholarships, which these are funds that also do not need to be repaid, but they don't come through financial aid. Instead, those come through institutions. So it's institutional aid. Either the college or the career tech, or it's coming from an organization, some entity. Sometimes corporations also give them. So it's coming from an institution, so it's an institutional aid. So you can learn more about the different types of aid there at studentaid.gov/types, and that will actually go into much more detail on those different types of aid. So here's kind of like that rundown of those different kinds. The grants that are the ones you don't have to pay back. Some examples would be Pell Grant, which is federal level. And another one would be OTAG, which is the Oklahoma grants that you're granted. So FAFSA, although it's a federal application, also does qualify you for state ones as well. Okay, so who can get student aid? Well, first of all, U.S. citizens or eligible non-citizens can get federal aid for scholarships. There's also you need to have a high school diploma or equivalent. You need to be seeking an eligible degree or certificate program in either a college or a career tech school. By eligible degree, most things are going to fall under that. If you need more specifics on if you were worried about your degree falling under that, most likely it's going to fall under that. But if you're still worried about that, you can reach out to me and I can let you know if the program you're wanting to go into is one that's covered. You have to have a valid social security number, and you have to have a satisfactory academic progress in college or your trade school. Even if you don't have a great GPA, that's gonna in high school, that's gonna be a hindrance to getting into college. But if you get into college, it's about how well you do in college, because you can actually get put on academic probation, which then also puts you on financial aid probation. So you have to get your grades back up in order to continue receiving the aid. Okay, so this isn't a comprehensive list. If you go to that studentaid.gov/eligibility, it's going to give you it's going to go into much more detail on each of those things. But it's the biggest criteria being that you demonstrate financial need. Okay. All right. Who can get state financial aid? Okay, state financial aid, you have to graduate from a public or private high school in Oklahoma. So anybody who's graduating outside of Oklahoma can't receive OTAG just because they move here while they're in college. So you are not competing for those grants against a Texas student who is now going to go to school in Oklahoma. They can't get OTAG. Okay, so that's kind of one thing you won't compete with out-of-state students. You need to be a resident of Oklahoma with a parent or guardian, or you can be an emancipated minor, but you have to have been in Oklahoma with whoever your legal guardian is for the last 2 years. And then they also say you either have to be a U.S. citizen or you have to have an application or petition filed with the U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services at that time. So even if you're not fully a citizen, but you're in process of getting citizenship, then you can still qualify. So how much can you get? Well, there's a formula, of course. So in general, it just depends on how much financial need you have. And so how they figure that, there's two big terms that you need to know for this. The first is the student aid index. And that's basically, it's going to go by how much income your family has coming in, the contributors to your household, how much are they making? How much are you as a student making? Even if you're not, whether you're contributing to household income or not, how much money you're making, the assets the family has, how many people they're supporting, how many of those people they're supporting are in college, all of that stuff contributes to your student aid index, and it creates this number. Okay. And the other one is the cost of attendance. So that is how much it costs to go to that college. And most colleges will have somewhere on their website will have a cost of attendance sheet that lists it out. It says that what they consider to attend. Most schools, it's 15 hours. 15 credit hours is approximately 5 classes a semester. So at 15 credit hours, how much is it to pay for that tuition, for the fees that go along with it, housing, food, transportation, all of that together? That's what they do, the cost of attendance. So you take that cost to go to college minus your student aid index, and that tells them how much financial need you have, and that determines how much money you get from federal student aid. So to give you just sort of an idea, like a Pell Grant, this is the maximum amount you can get. So or it was for the 2024-25 year, the maximum amount that you could get was $7,395. So that meant that was for the grant for the year. So that meant about three, 36 and some change, almost 37, $100 each semester to pay for school. The federal work study, it fully depends on the school because the school is the one who's actually paying you when you're working on that. They get a reimbursement from the from federal government for some of that, but they have to set it up and make it work. So that depends on the school. So there's not really a way we can say this is the maximum amount because it really depends. Then you've got direct subsidized and unsubsidized loans. You can get up to $5,500 in subsidized loans. I think it's actually more in unsubsidized, but that's you can get an approximate idea. So if you want to know more about those different amounts and everything, you can go in to that link there to find out more about it. All right, next. If you want to get an estimate of how much money you're going to get, you can actually go to this link here, the studentaid.gov/aid-estimator, and it will have you put in your financial information just ahead, and then it will give you, here's an estimate of what you're probably going to get. So you can do that after you've filed your FAFSA just to see how much that you think you're going to get. And it's just so you can kind of plan ahead until you get your award letter. So once you get your award letter, it tells you this is how much you're getting. But until that time, this gives you an estimate to use to kind of plan how much additional money you need to get. Okay, so this is how much in state. So this is again based on 2024-25. I'm still waiting on updates from Department of Labor about the last year's, but this is still, I mean, it doesn't change dramatically from one year to the next. So it's basically it's the lesser of these. So 75% of the enrollment costs. So 3/4 of how much it costs to go to school, and then up to these amounts. So it's 75%, but if 75% is more than, if say you're going to regional university, so like OSU or OU, they'll give you 75% as long as it doesn't go over 2,000. If it goes over 2,000, then 2,000 is how much you get. So basically half of it's awarded in the fall and half of it's awarded in the spring. Same thing as with the FAFSA. The only thing that gets awarded for a full year are loans. At a time. You get them at a time. They tell you in the award how much you're getting total, but they give it to you in each semester, except for the loans. Loans you get all at once. So how much school and private scholarship money can you get? It depends on the schools. I'm going to constantly be sending you guys scholarship information. And once you've applied to a school, we will look at those scholarship things together. You just let me know and we'll sit down and we'll go through what are all of the scholarship options that you are eligible for. And most of those universities, when you apply for the school, it auto applies you into the standard scholarships too. Okay. So how to apply for aid, that's what we're getting ready to do, right? We're going to go through this FAFSA.gov and we're going to complete it. So now we're going to move into the actual form itself, step by step. Okay. All right. The FSA ID. So hopefully you've already done this because we're not going to go through long enough for you to go through it. You create the account here, and then your parents or whoever claim you on their taxes, they're gonna go through and do their account as well. All right. So dependent students, unless you claim yourself on your taxes and nobody else can claim you, you're a dependent student. So like 90% of my students are dependent students. So if you are a dependent student, this is how it works. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to when you're going to log into your FSA ID and you're going to create a new one. And I'm going to kind of show you. So see if I can stop sharing for a moment. And then I'm going to share with you like on the page itself. Okay, as I think it's a little easier than trying to see it on that presentation as if I do this here. Okay, so once you get in there, this is the form you're starting. And I know you're thinking, but that says 2026-27. Yes, this is one of the things that drives me absolutely bonkers about FAFSA is its complication. So your application is for the first year you would be in college or career tech. So you're going to file for next year's. That's the year's form you're doing. Make sure this is the one you do. I had a student last year who accidentally applied for the year we were in, and then we had to go back and start over. Okay, so 2026-27 FAFSA form, that's the one that you are doing. This is the one you're going to click start form on. That it's the 2026-27 app, even though we're in 2025-26, and we're going to use taxes from 2024. So it's just one of those fun, crazy things that happens. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my um, regular scheduled presentation, and we'll pick up where we left off there so that you can follow along. Okay. So once you start, oh my goodness, I gotta flip through here. Next time I just need to make the picture bigger. Okay, so once you click that little button that's on there, then you're going to go in and it's going to have you log in to your FSA ID if you have not already logged in. Then it's going to say, hey, welcome back. Are you starting this form as a parent, student, or parent? Because parents can actually start the application, but it's easier if the student starts it. So you're going to click student. And then you're going to go through. So then it's going to have these videos and it's going to say, we're going to walk you through how to do this. It provides an overview of the FAFSA form, and there's the video, and then the second page is going to provide more information about what a contributor is, like I've been telling you, like whoever claims you on their taxes and things like that. The third FAFSA onboarding page is going to provide what to expect when you're completing your form, like that you're going to be giving consent and approval for things. And that is something that you should definitely be aware of. You're giving consent for them to look for information, tax information for you based on your social security number and your birth date and your name and everything. So just be ready for that. And then the final onboarding page is about what to expect after you've actually committed, you've done it. You've done the form, you've completed the form and submitted it. Your parents have done their side of it and submitted it. It's done. It is in process now. What happens then? And it talks about timelines and things like that. And you're welcome to take a look and go through all those videos, but we're kind of talking about them, so you can bypass if you'd like. Okay, so dependent student identity information. So this is the first page in the student section, and it's going to verify your personal information is correct. The same stuff you put in for the FSA ID. And to do so, it's also probably going to have you do that two-step verification to verify that you are the person who is actually, you are this person and you are filing your FAFSA. Is everybody okay if you guys are following along at the same time? Does anybody need me to slow down? Are you okay? All right, I will take that as ascension to this. All right. So the next thing is it's going to say the student is asked about your state of, oh, thank you for the thumbs up. The student is asked about their state of legal residence, and you just drop it down. It's going to be Oklahoma, unless you just moved here within the last um, month and you haven't established yourself as a resident, you're a resident. So you're going to select Oklahoma, and then the date you became a legal resident of Oklahoma. So here's the deal. If you were born in Oklahoma, that's the date you became a resident. So you put the month and year of your birth. If you were not born in Oklahoma, then whatever month and year you moved here. If it helps, I've had some parents who are like, oh gosh, I don't remember I don't remember when he moved here. And it was like, okay, well, how old was your kid? Or I've said, what grade were they in? And then you can use that to kind of narrow it down. It doesn't have to be super precise. Um, Within the same year for sure, but hopefully like within a couple of months if you can't remember exactly. Okay, next it's going to be this page is informing you about the cons of giving your approval and your tax information. So it's going to say that providing the consent and approval, the student's federal tax information is transferred directly into FAFSA form from the IRS. So by agreeing to this and saying you approve, you're saying it's okay for FAFSA to talk to IRS, because they're two different departments of government. You're saying it's okay for FAFSA to say, hey, IRS, can you check this social security number and tell me if this tax information matches? And they'll come back and say, yeah, this matches this person, and they will give your tax information to FAFSA to use for your approval. So you can't go further without the approval, but just know that's what you're saying, because lying about federal stuff is a big no-no. And all that legalese you are welcome to read. I read it all before I said yes, but I know, like, we are in the age of click and go. So I get it, but I'm just telling you, like, you are agreeing to all of those terms, and then they are legal ramifications of if you give false information. After all of that legalese and agreeing to it, then the next thing it's going to ask you about are going to be some personal circumstances. And there's some things in there let me just explain. This is really just for two purposes. One, to establish, yes, you are a dependent student, and two, that you and two, to use for demographics and things that they're going to use in determining how the aids are distributed. It will not directly impact the amount that you get, other than qualifying you for certain programs. Okay. So the first thing is marital status. It doesn't matter if you are living with somebody and you have basically committed to each other. It does not matter if you have not legally have a marriage certificate. You are not married, and you must mark single. Okay. Oh, hold on. I'm checking here. What do we say? We're unable to retrieve your financial information, so you'll need to enter it yourself in the finances section. That's okay. That's okay. It just says that then they reached out to get your information. They didn't find anything. And then so they're going to have you enter your financial aid. And that's often for the students, that's often comes up because many of you haven't worked a job. So there's no tax information out there, or you haven't filed taxes. So there's no tax information for it to pull. So don't panic if it says there was no information found. Okay, no problem. Thank you for, like, stop me anytime you come across something and you're worried about it. That's part of this whole deal, is to make sure. So if you get the unable to retrieve financial information, unless you filed taxes like in the last 2 years and you're sure you filed taxes and you should be in there, then we want to go back and double check your information. But if you haven't, then that's why it's not finding anything for you, because you haven't filed taxes. Okay, so then the marital status. Next, then we go into, it's going to ask you your grade level for this coming school year, for that like, all right, is this going to be your first bachelor's degree? And so you're going to put first year freshman, even if you're doing concurrent, even if you are doing concurrent, you are still a freshman coming in. You will come in with college credits, but you are still a freshman in university when you do that. So you're going to mark first year freshman, and no, you have not already gotten a bachelor's degree, or at least I don't know that you've gotten a bachelor's degree. And holy cow, if you've been able to sneak by with a bachelor's degree while you're in high school. So you're just that's how you're going to mark that to go through there. All right. Then the student is asked if any of the listed personal circumstances apply to you. And then if none of them do, you have to mark the none of these apply. So there's a lot on that list, right? Like, there are many different things in there, but most likely none of them are going to apply to you. But just to kind of go through them with you, I'm gonna trying to look at this without it throwing off the presentation. Let's hope it doesn't throw through. I need it larger though, because even with my glasses. Okay, so the first one is, are you in the armed forces? So even if you're ROTC, it does not count. You have to be an actual in the military. The second one being a veteran. Again, this is not likely to apply to you because you probably aren't having served and then still in high school. If you have children, that who live with you and you pay for at least half or more of their child support. Um, if at any time since you turned 13, then you're an orphan. Um, Even if you have new guardianship now, if you at any time were considered an orphan, you mark that one. If, at any time um, since turning 13, then you are a ward of the court. If any time since turning 13 you were in foster care, even if you are no longer in foster care, you still mark that. Then if you were an emancipated minor, as determined by the court and state of residence. If and then if you have guardianship over someone, if sorry, you're in guardianship with someone other than your parent or step parent. So basically, like if a grandparent or an aunt or uncle have custody of you, then you would mark that. If none of those apply, you click none of these apply. The next question is about homeless. If you are homeless or at risk of being homeless, then you would mark yes. Otherwise, you mark no. If you have a home, you have a roof over your head, you're there. Okay. The next one is if you have any unusual circumstances that prevent you from contacting your parent. So if like your parent doesn't live in the States anymore, if your parent has um if your parent and you like are if you don't know where your parent is, like I say that and it sounds awful for me to kind of like laugh a little about that. That's but my own circumstances that with that I did not have a way to contact my parents when I was doing FAFSA, but this wasn't an option, so you had to get a notarized statement and everything. So now you actually have the ability to say I don't have a way to contact my parent. So the you would mark it. Otherwise, and for most people that's going to be a no. Okay. Okay, now the next section is determining, like, it's going to say this is telling you what you've determined. So unless you marked on those last two pages one of those items, then it's going to say you are a dependent student, which is what we kind of said in the beginning, like 95% of you guys are going to be dependent students. So then it's going to ask you if you want them to determine if you're eligible for an unsubsidized loan. It's just an option if you're willing or not. It does not matter which way you select at this point. It's just saying, do you want the ability to have an unsubsidized loan? If you would like my unofficial, because I don't want to just tell somebody financial suggestions or anything, but if you want my unofficial opinion on it, I'd be happy to give you that outside of this. But as far as this goes, this is up to you to decide. All right, now it's going to ask you about your parents, okay, or whoever is going to be your contributor. So first you're asked if your parents are married. Again, we go back to even if they've lived together for 30 years, even if they've pledged their undying affections, even if they share joint bank account, it does not matter if they do not have a legal certificate of marriage license. They are not. Then they mark them as no. They are not married. Then you're asked to put in information about your parents in order for them to get their invite. So I believe it's you just put in their email address, and then you put that and you send that information to them, and it's going to let you do that. Yours is different. Your next one about if how to send the information to your parents is different. Oh, okay. Yeah, there might be some more other personal information that it asks in there. I've it's been a minute since I did this, and I think that maybe even last time there was that. Go ahead and answer any of those other questions that it asks you um about your parents, what other information that they've asked you about that. Think um it might ask what level of college they've had too. Like what level, not necessarily college, what level of a school they've had. It may be asking those as well. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time for those questions. And then just give me a thumbs up when you've entered that and you've gotten to where you've sent your invite. Oh, wait, Angel, do you mean that it was going ahead and asking you your student demographics? Your demographics first? Oh, okay. Okay, then it maybe it's out of order. Then it maybe came to this next. So this is your demographics is what it asked you about. This is where it's going to ask you about your gender identity. Um, these are purely demographics. It's just when they say how many people applied and how many people got aid and stuff like that. It goes into those uh, labor and education statistics numbers that they use. That's all this is for. It does not make a difference in the money you get. Then yes, next is going to be race and ethnicity, how you mark that. Um, check all that apply. Then it'll ask you about citizenship status. Interesting. You got all the way through that. It didn't ask anything about your parents' education status. Oh, you mean it didn't see anything about inviting them, you mean? Okay, let's see. If when we get to that point. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going through this just to make sure in case there's anything that anybody else has questions about. So parents' education status. Okay, well, I'll catch up to you here. Um, if your parent was killed in line of duty, whether that's serving as a member of the armed forces or as like a public safety operator, like a police officer or a fireman. And then high school completion status, and it's you're going for a high school diploma. So like that's the one that you're going to select is high school diploma because that's what you'll have when you graduate this year. And then you're asked which high school you graduated from. If you're having trouble finding it by looking it up, our number that you can just search by number is 370036. That's our school ID. It's called our CEB. That's our number, and that'll pull us up directly with that number because that's like our nationally recognized number for everything. And now you have the option of you can confirm, like it's going to pull it up and you say, yes, that's the correct one. And you go through there. Then we come to finances, and these are your finances, just yours as a student. Okay. So for a lot of you, these are going to be a lot of zeros because you don't have any finances, but don't worry, you're about to go to college where you're still not going to have any finances. Kidding. I mean, sort of. Okay, so we're going to go through this section next. So first is if you're asked if you filed a 2000, in this case, it's going to be a 2024 tax return. And so you're gonna note any figures that you have in there that you're going to include for that. Then it's going to ask you about your assets. So if you have a checking account or a savings account or bonds or anything like that, then you're going to enter the amounts in there. It's estimates, it's approximates. It doesn't have to be because you'll even notice you can't put in cents. So it's not looking for it to be super like on the dot. It needs to be an approximate. If you've got, $302 in your account and you just put 300, it's okay. If you put in, because if you look at your balance says, oh, I have $120, and then tomorrow you paid a bill and it's less than that, it's okay. This is an estimate, and until you get into large numbers, it's not really going to impact anything on what you get. Next, you're going to select colleges. So you can select up to 20 colleges, and there is without having to make any payments to have them sent to those colleges. So any college you are considering, you should include on this. So to do that, you're just going to go in and you're going to put in the state that you're looking for and then the city that you're looking for. So if you're looking at University of Central Oklahoma, you're going to put in Edmond, it's Oklahoma, and then Edmond, and then you'll find UCO. Well, I think that'll be the only one that'll come up. But then you do the others. So if you are considering UCO or Oklahoma State University or University of Oklahoma or Tulsa University or Northeastern State University or what are some other common ones I get? Rogers State University, um, Oral Roberts University, Langston University, any of those colleges you're thinking about, just keep adding those in at as many as you want. But if you're considering it, if they said yes, you're accepted, and we're going to give you a scholarship, yo, if you okay, so great question. So it says, did or will the student file an IRS form 1040 or 1040 NR? It's okay. Don't worry. You do not have to apologize. There's a lot of stuff here. So, so the question I'm going to ask you to determine this is, did you work this year where you got a paycheck large enough that you have to file taxes? Or did you file taxes? Did you file your own just for you taxes? No. Then your answer is no. You will not be filing that and have not filed that. So that's the answer you give for that is no, you will not be filing. The only time that you're going to have that form is if you file taxes on yourself. Even if your parents file taxes and claim you on those taxes, if you yourself personally did not file one, you don't put that in. They're going to put their tax information on their end. This is just for you. Because I have had students before who did work enough that they had to. Because if you make a certain amount, you have to file taxes. So they had to file taxes, so they had tax information to put in. That's the only time that counts. Okay, I'm going to back up a bit since I know you're back there a little bit. And then the same with that. Then once you get past those tax information there, then it's into the assets. Make sure you list something. Even if there's nothing, put zero in. Make sure you fill in each box so that it's clear that you didn't miss it. You acknowledged it and put zero there. So then when you're putting in your schools, each time you do, it's going to say add this school, add this school, add this school. And then once you've added all of this colleges that you want, you're going to see it all on a list kind of like this. So here's like a sample students there. They've listed 5 universities here. They've got they you click them, and as you click them, you'll see that one at the bottom there shows that it's been added. So every one of the ones, once you get your list completed, you add all the ones that you want there. And then when you're done, you click the little green box at the bottom. So I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to grab myself a sip really quick and let you guys enter your colleges in to your list of all your colleges. So again, I'm just going to repeat, any college you're interested in, there's no reason not to go ahead and send them that information so that they know. Like you'll get an award letter from each school that you get accepted to that's on this list. They'll send you an award letter saying this is how much FAFSA you get attending here. Okay. So go ahead and find all of those schools that you have interest in. If you're wondering about adding a school, if you're like, oh, I only have these 4 schools, what are some others you suggest based on this degree? And I'll tell you some more. Or what are some other colleges that are close to, Oklahoma City that I should list on there? So anyone that you've thought about or you've seen that you would maybe go to, put it on that list and I'll come right back. Make sure you're putting in Edmond as the city. Some people forget that it's actually Edmond instead of Oklahoma City when you're putting in that. And also be patient with it when you put in information and you start typing. Sometimes you just have to stop and let it kind of catch up to you to be able to pull it up. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna grab a drink really quick. I'll be all right, I'm back. Sorry, it's been since I was a full-time teacher that I've had this much talking in one sitting. Okay, once you have all of your colleges selected, then you will and make sure you do both. Both you add the colleges, and then when you get to um that end page, it's going to say, like, it's going to list all the colleges you looked up, but you have to click the little select button next to each one. Once you've selected all of them, then you click that little green box at the bottom, and you'll know when how many of our schools you pick show up. Like if they, on the sample I've got there, it's 4 out of 20 schools have been selected, because you can have up to 20. So once you've selected that number of them, you click continue, and then you're good to go. Okay. Next is this. Oh, sorry. Wait, I'm waiting to see. There's a question. Now, parent or contributor. All right. So that's why it went in, it's in a different order now. See, I should have gone back and looked to see if they changed things since last year, but I did not. Okay, so this is when now you're going to give your information on your parents. That's where it was I was talking that I thought it was going into here. So here's where it is. Not student marital status, it's parent status. Tell us about your parents. That's where you've gotten to. Okay, so this is the next thing. I'm going to have to change the order of my stuff. All right, so this is where you're going to tell about your parents. It's going to ask if they're married. Again, reminder, it has to be like a legally married for you to mark the yes there. And if you mark no, it may ask you follow-up questions, because it's trying to determine how the dependency is going to work, how many people you have to get a contribution from. Because if your parents file, if you have both parents file and equally claim you, if both parents claim you, or they file jointly and claim you, then you have, then if they file jointly, and then you only have to have one of the two as a contributor, and they provide all the information. If parents file separate taxes, if only one parent claims you, that parent is the one you have to send the information to. If your parents have split and they're able to do it where they each claim a portion of the expenses for you, that's when it gets tricky, and you have to have both parents submit stuff. It's a whole thing. But it may ask you some questions after that that will help determine that. May. Without being able to log into a current application, I can't see exactly the adjustments that are made from one year to the next. Okay, and then you put your parents' email and it sends them the information. Then it's going to ask you to confirm all of your information. So you'll get a review page where it's going to go through all of the stuff that you've answered, and it's going to ask you to double check everything. So it's going to say, make sure that all of this information is correct as you see it. You can still view any responses by expanding all under each section. If you need to edit it, you can just click the hyperlink under that question, and it'll take you to that page, and then you can click next and get back to the end again. So if there's anything you see off, you can still edit it now. You don't have to do anything else. And then you get to your signature page. Okay. So this is after you acknowledge the terms and conditions of FAFSA, you signed your section. This is going to be how you go from there, right? So since parent information has been since the parent information hasn't been given yet, this not mean it's done. This is just your side is done. First part done. So understand that again, these are terms and conditions. Like if you you're agreeing to all of this information is correct as far as you know. So then once you have agreed to this, you're basically signing your name by checking, and then you hit done. And it's going to say you're almost there. I'm waiting to see if there's something. Yes, you do. Yes, your parent clicks the 2627 FAFSA invitation. That's what you're going to do. Because once you've done that, it sends it to whoever you've listed as your contributor. Like this sample one shows 2 contributors. If you may just have 1 contributor, what that person will then get the invitation, and then they're going to click that FAFSA invitation that they've been given. Okay, which moves us into contributors for dependent students. Okay, so you're going to get the email, something to the effect of like this, and it's going to say, hey, this isn't a view, FYI, this is not a view from within studentaid.gov. This is like demonstrating them getting it as an email, as a FAFSA invitation, okay? And then you can just click the get started when you do that. They're going to ask the parent to log in using their FSA ID that they've already created, and they're going to just log in with that information and then get in there. And once they log in, it will come up here and it'll say your activity. Here's these, it might not look exactly the same. Like I said, I have to use previous year's ones because I have to get screenshots from people that complete them. So they make adjustments every year. I just try to kind of use whatever the most recent one looked like. But once she logs in, it should see something to this effect. Where it says my activity, and it shows there's a FAFSA one that it says, it'll say the student's name, my sample one says Rhea Tran, wants your help on the FAFSA form, accept invitation. And then it's going to come up to the next piece that's going to say, by accepting this invitation, you're going to have to fill out personal information and provide that on a FAFSA form. So then you have to click continue. It's just kind of making sure they understand what they're doing here. So then this is going to be information about the next page is this information about contributing to FAFSA. It's frequently asked questions that come up like, why am I getting this? What's happening with this? What am I supposed to do here? After that, then it goes into onboarding, which should look familiar because it's kind of the same stuff as the student had on their end. So again, it's those 4 different components that it's going to go over. Like what FAFSA is exactly and what it's for, what being a contributor means so that they know, yes, I am contributing to the student, what to expect, what things they're going to have to give as far as information goes. And then finally, like after the form is done, what next? Okay, So the first thing they're going to say is just like it did with the student one, you're going to have to confirm all that information is correct. It should be the same thing you did when you made your FSA ID, but you're just making sure that it's still correct and everything is good. And it may ask you to do that two-step verification where you have to send the text and put in the code. It may be not if depending on when you've made it and how you logged in. So then within that section, once we get, continuing that, it's going to ask you to verify your mailing address as part of this page. And it gives you the ability to, if you need to update, you have to actually go into your account settings. But if everything is correct on the address, then you can just click continue. Next page is about consent and approval of your federal tax information. Similar to what we talked about before. This is saying, yes, it is okay for you to take my social security number and go out and talk to the IRS about my taxes that were filed and for that to come back here for checking my financials. So you can read through all the legalese to make sure that you agree to that. And then that very last of that page there's that little blue accept button that says you accept all of that, all of those things to be completed. And then it's going to make that reach out. So I'm going to pause to see if anybody has any errors come up when they're doing that. Okay, I don't see anybody saying any errors, so hopefully that means everything went through just okie dokie. Okay, so next are parent demographics. Again, this does not impact. Oh no, wait, we have typing. We got to make sure. Yes, I can wait. Yes, I can wait. I will wait. Oh, sorry, I'm really trying to talk with mic off. Okay, so EIC is earned income credit. It's a particular line within a tax form. If you may just know if you got earned income credit. It's based on how much you make and dependent and filing with a dependent. But the one of the lines on the taxes should say earned income credit if that's what you're looking for. Let me look up. I might actually be able to tell you what line it is. Is she on a 1040? Are her taxes on were her taxes on a 1040? Yes, on a 1040. Okay. Hold on. It is on it says here on a 1040 it's line 27. Okay, so unless she earned money that came from an overseas company, then it's zero. That foreign income is only if you get money from, like, if you, if you worked for a company that is an overseas company, but you're here working for that company, then you would have foreign income. Otherwise, you're not going to have foreign income. Or if you got dividends from a company overseas, like if you bought stock in Toyota or something. Toyota is a foreign owned entity, so you would have foreign income from that. Yes, that's correct. Once you've got it all filled out, you should be good. Woohoo! Nicely done. Oh, did it not have her do demographics or anything? It just says you've finished, you're submitted. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, then they cut out a whole lot. I'm gonna go ahead and skip through these slides just to make sure that the final page looks the same, but it sounds like they may have cut out a lot of this extra stuff. It had everything autofilled. Nice. Okay, well that's helpful. Okay, well let's click through here and see for anybody else who's didn't autofill in, so they know what those include, and then hopefully we'll all land in the same spot. Okay, so parent demographics here, parents' marital status, state of residence, and then same thing. If you were born in Oklahoma, it's the month and year of your birth. Otherwise, it's whenever you moved here. And then finances, you're going to put in federal benefits, any of those things that are listed there, those apply. Then you click those, and then what you filed for taxes, you put that in. Um, Parents' family size. So everybody who belongs to that parent as far as like what they claim when they file taxes. Um, so and it may just be that it's asking you, did your family size change? It may just be confirming that. How many people will be in the family will be in college between July 1 and June 30th. So mark that in there. So this is, I'm sorry, between July 1, 2025 and June 30th of 2026. Um, get that wrong? No, July 1 of 2026 to June 30th, 2027, because we're talking about the next year. Okay. Anyway, so you mark that. So you know it's at least one because the student that is applying is going to be the one, but it may be more than that too. And then the student's parents' tax return. So the parent is going to put in all these questions regarding their 2024 tax return, entering in those fields. So these are some of the ones that you were just talking about, the information you were putting in. And then parent assets. Again, these are estimates best you can establish, like your checking account and your savings accounts and how much you're going to have there. Like it's an estimate. It's as close as that you can think of, noting you can't put in change there, so it's just a figure, an amount. um you're going to be asked to provide information about a spouse or partner if that applies. You'll put that information in there as well. And then you get to the review page. Okay. So the review page, again, just like with the student, is going to have all the responses there. You have the option at this point to go in and change. You can check the details by expanding all. If there's anything wrong, you just click the hyperlink on that question and it takes you to that page and you can make those corrections to anything that you're missing. Then you get to the terms and conditions page where it's going to ask you to sign your sections, to saying like, yes, you understand that you are submitting on behalf of yourself and your student, because the student has finished theirs and sent it to you. So now you're sending it along. It's like a relay race. You've taken the baton, you're now handing it off. So it's saying you understand you're not just representing yourself, but your student as well in this. And then you get to the congratulations page, which then is going to say, okay, congratulations. And then it's specifically on that page, kind of on details, then says, now what happens next? So first you're going to get an email that you and your student are going to get an email saying, hey, this is complete. And then you're going to get a notification that's processing, and it's going to tell you the approximate wait time for the processing of that. And then your students, you're going to receive school communications from schools when they give you their award letter to say, here's how much, because remember we told you that amount of aid is based on not just your student aid, but like how much you're capable of, but the cost of attendance as well. So that cost of attendance is different on different schools. So the schools will send you something and say, here's your award letter. This is how much FAFSA you will get if you come to this school. And then we add to that anything we find in scholarships or whatever else there. Okay, so if you have any other questions, I know, Angel, you said that yours finished and it's submitted and everything, so that looks good. So unless you get something back saying like there's a question or some error on there or something that you need to do, then you're basically done. Jesus, if you've got anything on yours that you have questions about, or anybody who's watching this video after the fact, if you guys have any questions, remember that you can reach out to me. You can give me a phone call or you send me an email. Anybody who wasn't able to follow along with this and get this done or had errors come up and needs more help than this is capable of giving, we will do one-on-one FAFSA workshops, but those will be after fall break, because we've got a lot to finish in this last week before we go. So since we only have about a week left before break, we're not doing any one-on-ones until after fall break. It should still be early enough. I had students who got aid who didn't file until much later. Just we prefer to do it, especially for the Oklahoma grants. Those go fast, so you want to get in soon for those. So if you guys have any other questions, please feel free. Angel, I know you're going to stick around, so we'll get to those. Otherwise, thank you so much.